What's up, everyone? If you, like me, have already explored every corner of Hallownest, felt the void that remains after defeating the Hollow Knight, and wondered, what do I play now that has that Hollow Knight vibe? It's a classic question. That balance of fluid platforming, precise combat, and, of course, a dense world, full of secrets, and with an atmosphere that sucks you in. It's not just any Metroidvania. I've selected 10 new games, or games that are just arriving, that take key elements from the Hollow Knight experience. It's not about them being copies, but about the level of challenge, the art direction, and, especially, the world building. We're going to analyze what each one technically brings to fill that gap. I'm Matthew, and get your Steam wishlist ready because today we're diving deep into this. Come with me to discover 10 essential new games for those who love Hollow Knight. Nevergrave the Witch and the Curse is a Metroidvania with a roguelite twist that those who loved Hollow Knight really need to check out. The game combines 2D exploration, challenging combat, and a unique possession mechanic, where you control a witch possessed by a cursed hat who can dominate defeated enemies to use their specific abilities. This possibility of switching between the witch and the possessed enemies adds a cool strategic layer that refreshes the genre, especially for those who like to delve into mastering combat and exploration mechanics, something that Hollow Knight does so well. The game's universe is vibrant and atmospheric, with a hand-drawn art style that recalls the best of classic Metroidvanias, but with its own touch. The setting and level design have a mysterious and dark feel, perfect for those who enjoy getting lost in maps full of secrets, puzzles, and platforming challenges, just like what holds you for hours in Hollow Knight. The sense of adventure is enhanced by the fact that the maps are procedurally generated in each attempt, increasing the replay factor and keeping the experience always fresh. One of the elements that personally caught my attention is the mix with construction and management elements. Outside the dungeons, you return to a destroyed village that can be rebuilt with resources collected during explorations. This village serves as a base to prepare potions, cultivate plants, and unlock permanent upgrades that help in subsequent runs. This progression between attempts brings that feeling of constant evolution, which, even in moments when you die, gives you the impression that you are always moving forward, keeping motivation high. The combat is fluid, with a good mix of melee attacks, magic, and the intelligent use of enemy possession, which grants you access to varied abilities to solve puzzles or overcome difficult bosses. The boss encounters are very well-constructed moments of tension, requiring attention and mastery of mechanics, similar to what makes Hollow Knight so memorable for fans of the genre. Furthermore, the game offers support for cooperative multiplayer for up to 4 players, which opens up space for a fun group experience, something not always common or expected in Metroidvanias. On the ambient and narrative side, Nevergrave has an engaging story that revolves around the curse that chains the witch and the mystery surrounding her destiny in the possessed world. This plot works very well for those who like games that combine dark atmosphere with action and exploration, creating that find-out-what's-behind-it climate that usually hooks me quite a bit. Although the story still has some details to reveal, it is already clear that the game focuses on themes of possession, curse, and the fight against obscure forces. The mix of roguelite, Metroidvania, construction, and co-op multiplayer creates a package that will please those who enjoy challenging, beautiful games with a lot of content to explore. It's the kind of game that, personally, has already entered my list of must-haves for those who love that explore, die, evolve, and come back better vibe that is the soul of the genre. Rune Fencer Illyia is a delightful surprise in the Metroidvania universe, especially for those who enjoyed Hollow Knight. Right off the bat, what stands out is its proposal of intense action, with a beautiful pixel art style that harks back to dark and fascinating worlds, full of details that seem to take some of the weight off the hand-drawn style, and create an atmosphere of mystery and adventure. The game features fast and fluid gameplay, with combat that mixes sword attacks and the use of runic magic, similar to what Hollow Knight achieved with Mastery, only with a greater focus on collecting and customizing abilities In addition to exploration more geared towards discovering hidden secrets everywhere, one of the most interesting aspects of Rune Fencer Illyia is its mechanic of stealing powers from enemies, which strongly recalls the idea of absorbing abilities, a concept that mixes elements of Kirby with the freedom of development of a true Metroidvania. Each defeated enemy can be the source of a new temporary or permanent ability, expanding the player's arsenal and encouraging a more strategic approach when facing challenges. Additionally, the system of collecting runes and sigils to unlock new abilities adds a layer of tactical depth that keeps the game stimulating, especially for those who like to assemble different builds and experiment with combinations. Illyia's narrative also stands out for its dark and engaging atmosphere. The title character, a young runist, wakes up in a devastated world after a plane crash and must explore a vast and mysterious world to find her missing sister. The story is told through visual details and short dialogues, which convey a sense of suspense and gradual discovery, something that greatly captivates those who appreciate denser and atmospheric narratives. The plot also involves a mixture of ancient magic, curses, and strange creatures, reinforcing the feeling of being inside a magical and dangerous universe at the same time. Another point that caught my attention, and I think will please many Hollow Knight fans, is the visual beauty and world design. The setting is a large, interconnected world full of secrets, with areas ranging from magical ruins to underwater regions and dark forests. Each location seems carefully crafted to offer new experiences, challenges, and atmospheres, which helps create a feeling of constant exploration, a trademark of this genre so loved for its meticulousness and curiosity. The combination of exploration, fast combat, and the search for secrets certainly keeps us glued to the screen, wanting to discover every corner. Rune Fencer Illyia promises to be an experience that unites the best of the Hollow Knight world, with its dark setting, challenging combat, and detailed exploration, with a twist more focused on abilities, customization, and an engaging narrative. Although still in development, what is known is that it has already left a strong impression on those who like the genre, demonstrating the potential to please both veteran fans and those looking for a new gem to discover. For those who enjoy games that play with magic, mystery, and fast action, this is one of those promises worth keeping an eye on.
Doing the boss in one phase is mostly reliant on RNG, because you have to get it trapped in certain attacks that take a really long time. That way you can damage it as much as possible without it needing to enter the second phase. Sometimes though, it's actually slower. Like, you can get a run. Like, I think my best time I've ever done of that boss, we entered the second phase. It's not immediately faster for it to skip the second phase.
Constance is a Metroidvania that, for those who love Hollow Knight, is a true surprise full of personality. In the game, you control an artist armed with a giant paintbrush, and all the combat and exploration revolve around this unique tool. The feature that immediately caught my attention is the use of paint as a central mechanic. You can attack, transform into paint to slide through tight spaces, and even make temporary barriers disappear, which brings a fluidity and creativity to the gameplay in the spirit of what Hollow Knight delivers, but with its own flavor. The game also impresses visually, with a hand-drawn 2D style that is simply beautiful. Each area is painted with vibrant colors and pays attention to details that bring to life a world that subtly represents the protagonist's internal battles. This setting creates an immersive experience, where the environment almost speaks to the player, and I felt that each biome was not just a scenario, but an essential part of telling the story of Constance and her fight against mental decay. Gameplay is where Constance shines. In addition to the fluid combat and unique painting abilities, the game encourages you to explore interconnected maps in a non-linear way, revealing secrets and encountering characters who help guide the journey. The possibility of transforming into paint to pass through small holes is one of those mechanics that surprises me, because it complements the platforming side very organically and opens up space for intelligent and challenging puzzles. It's that perfect mix of combat and movement that holds attention. Speaking of challenge, the death and recovery system in Constance is one of the most human things I've ever seen in a Metroidvania. When you die, you can choose to return to the last checkpoint with full health, or continue from where you died with 60% health. which makes refacing challenges more tense, but makes a lot of sense within the involved narrative, which talks about mental wear, pressure, and overcoming. It's an approach that fits very well with the central theme of the game and gives a differentiating emotional touch. The plot, although not explicit in long dialogues, is deep and connects with themes like mental health, creativity, the weight of burnout, and the search for an inner meaning. Through the art, the enemy design, and the environments, this story is told without forcing it, letting the player feel this emotional load while facing the challenges. This makes the game have an impact that goes beyond gameplay, something that personally touched me a lot. Constance also stands out for being a Metroidvania that appeals to the heart by delivering an experience that is challenging, beautiful, and very creative, with an accessible feel for those who want to face the obstacles of the genre without losing the sweetness and beauty of the created universe. If you are waiting for a Metroidvania that unites art, fluid gameplay, and an emotional narrative, Constance is, without a doubt, a title that deserves a space on your watch list this year. Akatori is a Metroidvania that deserves special attention, especially if you are a fan of Hollow Knight and are looking for a unique experience, but with that classic genre feel. The game puts you in control of Mako, a young woman who wields a staff with special powers and embarks on a journey through diverse worlds to save reality from destruction. The premise already brings that epic and mystical air, but what really stands out is the use of the staff. It serves both for combat and exploration, with abilities that go beyond attack, including throws to access new areas, break barriers, and platforms that function as trampolines, which brings a fluid and creative movement. Visually, Akatori delivers high-quality pixel art, set in interconnected worlds that, although drawn in 2D, have a certain depth that some call 2.5D. The environments vary greatly, from natural biomes to mysterious and magical regions, always with great care in the design and visual effects. This attention means that exploration is not just a challenge, but a delight for the eyes, something that for me is essential when I am immersed in a Metroidvania, as it helps create that emotional bond that makes the experience memorable. The combat gameplay is interesting, despite a slight criticism regarding the feeling of the blows not being as precise as possible. Even so, the variety of the staff's abilities and the energy system you need to manage, using your fists to recharge the staff's energy, bring a cool tactical dynamic. There is a balance between melee attack and strategic use of the staff, including the possibility of launching and recalling it, which adds a layer of depth to the gameplay and requires the player to think quickly about strategies to overcome enemies and obstacles. Another cool differential of Akatori is the system of corruption and interaction between two worlds, the real and a dimension called Void, or Kohakujo in the game's lore. The passage between these worlds influences the environment and gameplay, because the longer you stay in the void, the more the corruption increases, altering the scenery and revealing secrets that would normally remain hidden. This creates a growing tension and an extra challenge in exploration, as it is necessary to balance the time spent in each dimension to avoid losing control of the situation, which I found to be an original idea and gives the game its own identity. The plot follows the main character, Mako, on a mission to save the world from a dark fate caused by this corruption and ancient forces. The narrative is delicate, with plenty of lore and world building through dialogues and descriptions found throughout the journey. Although it is not a super expansive plot, it creates good motivation and works well to set the scene for everything that is happening, but without hindering the fluidity of the gameplay, ideal for those who want to enjoy both combat and exploration. Akatori is the kind of Metroidvania that delivers classic genre elements with a touch of innovation, especially in the staff mechanics, the world switching, and the enchanting visual design. Despite some details like the feel of the blow and command response still needing improvement, it is a strong bet for those who already enjoy Metroidvanias and want something that has a slightly different approach, with magic, challenging exploration, and an interconnected world full of secrets to discover. If you like the Hollow Knight vibe and want something new in this line, Akatori is a title worth keeping an eye on. Savior is a Metroidvania that stands out especially for the fluidity of the animations and the combat system, inspired by classic games like Punch-Out and Prince of Persia. The game features a protagonist named Sam, who moves with incredible agility thanks to well-implemented parkour, with precise jumps, slides under enemies, and agile parries, which gives a very satisfying sense of control, different from what is seen among many games of the genre. For those who enjoy Hollow Knight, the focus here is on the precision and depth of the combat, mixed with platforming in an open world that needs your help to be restored. Visually, Savior impresses with its detailed pixel art and fluid, almost cinematic animations, which greatly elevate immersion. The setting of Arcadia, a world divided between the Chosen and the Fallen, creates a narrative built upon ancient conflicts, religiosity, and dark secrets. This world building goes through varied and massive scenarios that convey that epic adventure atmosphere, something that personally reminded me of the great journeys that Hollow Knight provides, but now with a more grandiose and blockbuster touch. The combat system is strategic and addictive because it demands attention to enemy patterns, with an emphasis on perfectly timed dodges and counterattacks. The game rewards mastery of the controls, and the feeling of landing a critical parry or narrowly escaping an attack is very rewarding. The variety of enemies and the level of challenge are balanced to satisfy both players who prefer intense action and those who appreciate going slower, analyzing situations, and evolving tactics. Moreover, the movement in the world of Savior is one of the most praised highlights. The parkour here is not just for moving quickly, but is part of the exploration and can open up new possibilities, such as reaching secret areas and avoiding dangers. This fluidity makes the world much more alive and dynamic, making exploring every corner pleasurable, maintaining that feeling of reward when discovering new paths and mastering the terrain, as Metroidvania fans enjoy. The story in Savior is presented in a mature way, involving themes such as social division, faith, and redemption. It is told step by step as you play, without interrupting the action, creating a good balance between narrative and gameplay. You will find allies, opponents, and challenges that help build a rich universe that, in a similar vein to Hollow Knight, is felt more through the ambiance and details than through extensive dialogues. Savior is an excellent choice for those looking for a Metroidvania that combines technical combat, incredible animations, parkour movement, and an open world with a deep story. It has that classic flavor, combining the love for pixel art with modern and refined mechanics, making the experience an invitation for those who like to explore, fight, and get involved in an atmospheric narrative without rush. It's a game that, personally, I recommend for any fan of the genre who wants something that mixes action fluidity with tactical depth and a visually captivating universe.
For centuries, our lights have been taken and thrown into the dark. And there, in the depths, together, free from superstition and fear, those lights have grown bright.
Mira and the Legend of the Djinns is a gem in the Metroidvania genre that anyone who enjoyed Hollow Knight needs to try. Right from the start, the game impresses with its fluid and experimental combat that allows you to quickly switch between 4 different weapons, each based on one of the 4 primal elements: solar, celestial, infernal, and lunar. This variety of weapons and elemental modes creates a dynamic and strategic fighting style where constant switching enriches the gameplay and makes you think about how to approach each enemy or challenge in a unique way, which I found very captivating. Visually, the title is a polished pixel art that uses inspirations from Moroccan and Amazigh culture and mythology to build scenarios that are both beautiful and immersive. The world, called Fallen Amazgesh, is vast and full of mysterious ruins, with an artistic direction that not only delights the eyes, but helps build an atmosphere charged with magic and mystery. The music and sound effects add an even more engaging tone, contributing to that experience that hooks the player in an almost hypnotic way. In exploration, Mira and the Legend of the Djinns maintains the genre's classic style with interconnected maps full of secrets, hidden paths, and puzzles that require intelligent use of the character's abilities. In addition to conventional dash and wall climb abilities, the game offers 7 tools that provide versatility both in locomotion and in solving obstacles, which creates a constant sense of discovery. A highlight for those who like to map and explore every corner. The gameplay also features a robust skill tree, where you can purchase and unlock dozens of different combos and attacks, which makes combat even more personalized and stylish. This strongly reminded me of the feeling of evolving and shaping the character according to your style, something that is a trademark of Metroidvanias that stand out, including Hollow Knight itself. The narrative follows the journey of Yuba, a treasure hunter who finds Mira, a lost Djinn, forming a spiritual bond to save the destroyed world. This story, although told economically and without large dialogues, is rich in lore and deeply intertwined with the game's environment, making each discovery carry an emotional weight that touched me a lot. It conveys the feeling of epic adventure and mystical discovery, something that always adds a layer of immersion to a game of this type. Mira and the Legend of the Djinns is a phenomenal mix of fast action, careful exploration, and relaxing culture, all set in a mythological universe little explored in games. If you are a fan of the sensations of wonder and challenge that Hollow Knight brought to the genre, this game may be that title you didn't even know you were waiting for, with a strong, unique identity and an aesthetic and narrative care that truly impresses. It is personally one of the richest and most immersive Metroidvania experiences that have passed through my list recently. Shade Protocol is a 2D cyber fantasy Metroidvania that mixes music, code, and combat in a unique way. A game that captivates mainly those who enjoy challenging mechanics and atmospheric universes in the style of Hollow Knight. You take on the role of Zura, a replicant prototype capable of rewriting reality in a world dominated by Illithium, a sentient metal that has turned against its creator. This premise mixes technology with fantasy, creating a scenario full of mystery and a futuristic vibe that resembles something between the Matrix and a cyberpunk tale combined with a mystical feel. The game stands out for its fluid combat system, where you switch between 2 forms, Dawn and Shade, each with unique styles and abilities that influence your strategy and the way you face enemies. The weapons are called instruments, inspired by musical themes, and range from the Twilight Spear to the Dawn Axe, each bringing a different approach to attacks and exploration. The combat requires reflexes, tactical aggression, dodges, and perfectly timed parries, recalling the intense challenge experience that Hollow Knight also provided, but with its own touch of technology and rhythm. The artistic and sound side of Shade Protocol is another highlight. The visuals combine detailed pixel art with futuristic elements, and the soundtrack incorporates instrumental music that complements the game's technological theme. This combination creates an immersive atmosphere where every battle and every area seems alive, with the player feeling as if they are literally hacking and remixing the world around them, which gives an incredible freshness to the classic Metroidvania genre. The gameplay gains even more depth with the Unison system that allows you to rewrite reality, meaning you can literally change events and order the flow of the journey in different ways. This concept is rare in games of the genre and places a philosophical layer on control and identity, making the player reflect on the consequences of the choices made while progressing through the frantic gameplay. It's a cool reinvention that adds replayability and a sense of rare agency for fans of the style. Another striking feature is the vast and interconnected world of the Bastions, where the discoveries you make alter the history of the war between the Shades and Xavier's factions, and the mysterious protocol that consumed everything. This scenario and narrative construction means that exploration is mixed with storytelling, rewarding those who truly dedicate themselves to unraveling every secret of the game's universe, something that Metroidvania fans greatly appreciate. Shade Protocol is a complete experience that combines the best of classic Metroidvanias with innovation and modern aesthetics. Between the precise combat, the complex world design, the dynamic switching of forms, and the soundtrack that perfectly matches the gameplay, it reflects the passion of the genre while bringing new ideas and unique sensations. For those who love Hollow Knight and want to experience a universe that challenges both reflex and mind, Shade Protocol is a title that deserves all the attention and promises to leave a mark on the genre. Legends of Elementia is a Metroidvania that unites action, exploration, and a very interesting combat mechanic based on the mastery of the elements, making it a great option for those who like the style marked by games like Hollow Knight. The game's strength is the possibility of switching between 10 different elemental heroes, each with their unique abilities and attack styles, which provides an enormous tactical variety for combat and area resolution. This dynamic switching between characters creates a very cool rhythm that encourages the player to experiment with different combos and strategies. Legends of Elementia features detailed and vibrant pixel art that contrasts natural areas such as forests, volcanoes, and ancient ruins with visual effects of powerful elements, ranging from burning flames to wind whirlpools. Each scenario is very well set, creating an immersive, fantastic world that captures you both for its beauty and its mystery. The soundtrack accompanies this epic feel, filling the experience with adrenaline and emotion, reinforcing the feeling of being on a grand adventure. Regarding exploration, the game follows the genre's classic non-linear design, with an open world that requires you to revisit already explored areas as you gain new abilities and elements, unlocking secrets and puzzles based on the interactions between natural forces. It is a constant invitation to curiosity and dedication, something that for me is essential in a Metroidvania that wants to guarantee hours and hours of gameplay with the desire to decipher every detail. The combat is agile and responsive, with good depth in character customization. The skill tree allows you to develop your heroes in distinct ways, experimenting with combinations of elements and attacks that make battles against the many enemies and bosses easier or more challenging. This freedom suited me very well, as it balances the challenge with the feeling of evolution and mastery of the character. The narrative, which revolves around rebuilding the elemental balance of the devastated land of Elementia, is told in fragments as you navigate the vast world. The story and lore are rich and make the universe captivating, although they are not the main focus, serving more as a backdrop that helps give meaning to your actions and motivations in the game, an approach that makes sense for the pace of the gameplay. Finally, Legends of Elementia impresses by being a solo project that achieves fantastic results, showing that love and dedication to creation can bring to life a complete, deep and personality-filled Metroidvania. If you enjoy Metroidvanias with dynamic combat, strategic variety, and an open world full of life and mystery, this game should be on your radar now to explore this elemental universe extensively. Crude is a Metroidvania that brings a unique and intense proposal, perfect for those who enjoy challenges in the style of Hollow Knight, but with a dark and brutal feel. You play as Cosmos, an MA fighter from New York who suddenly finds himself transported to a cruel and unforgiving fantasy world. The combination of martial arts with a dark environment creates a unique atmosphere where hand-to-hand combat is heavy, tense, and very technical, demanding reflex and strategy from the player in every encounter. The game features a detailed pixel art style, with a color palette more focused on dark tones and reds that accentuate the oppressive and violent atmosphere of the world where you are trapped. The enemy design is varied and robust, reinforcing the feeling of constant danger. The setting resembles a brutal and merciless universe, and this feeling translates into gameplay with confrontations that truly test your abilities. The gameplay focuses on hand-to-hand combat, with a strong emphasis on combos, dodges, and blocks, where every blow must be calculated to win intense battles against increasingly difficult monsters. The progression system allows for customization of Cosmos' abilities, improving attacks and defenses, which adds a layer of strategy to assemble your preferred fighting style. The feeling of combat is heavy, different from the lighter rhythm of Hollow Knight, but still satisfying for fans of challenging Metroidvania action. The map design follows the traditional pattern of the genre, with an interconnected structure of areas that you revisit as you unlock new abilities to move forward. Exploration is rewarding, packed with secret spots and challenges that require attention to timings and precise movements, creating that addictive cycle of dying, learning, and progressing, which is one of the pillars of classic Metroidvania. The narrative is simple but effective, centered on Cosmos' attempt to understand how he ended up in this world and find a way back home, facing dark forces and revealing somber secrets about the place where he was imprisoned. This simplicity helps keep the focus on action and challenge, while themes like destiny, struggle, and survival permeate the plot. Crude is a Metroidvania experience that stands out for its technical and visceral combat, dark environment, and tense atmosphere, ideal for players who appreciate a heavier challenge. Although it has a different vibe from the dark lightness of Hollow Knight, it captures that essence of exploration and personal growth within a cruel and hostile world, making it a strong recommendation for fans looking for something more aggressive and deep in the genre. Tombwater is a Metroidvania that mixes elements of Souls-like with a Wild West aesthetic and cosmic horror, creating a unique experience for fans of games like Hollow Knight. You take on the role of a lone gunslinger who arrives at a decaying, cursed mining town where eldritch horrors lurk in the shadows. This combination of Western and horror brings a dark and tense atmosphere that keeps the player always alert while exploring an open world full of secrets and mysteries. Visually, Tombwater uses detailed pixel art in a top-down perspective that perfectly captures the atmosphere of a dirty and grim Wild West, with varied environments that include forests, mines, and destroyed urban areas. The setting has a vibe that mixes nostalgia with horror, which creates an immersive and unique experience in the Metroidvania genre. The soundtrack and sound effects are spot on and help amplify the tension and suspense of the exploration. The combat in Tombwater is fast and technical, combining firearms, swords, magic, and items that the player can craft, such as potions and explosives. The gameplay requires precise dodges, timed attacks, and good strategies to defeat the many enemies and bosses encountered along the way. This mix of Souls-like with Metroidvania creates a fair challenge, rewarding gradual mastery of mechanics and careful exploration of the scenario. The map is immense, interconnected, and full of blocked paths that only open up when specific abilities are gained, which invites you to explore previously visited areas multiple times to find secrets and overcome obstacles. The feeling of a living world full of secrets is reminiscent of titles like Zelda and Bloodborne, creating an environment where curiosity is always rewarded. The map design tends to be quite dense, requiring attention and planning. The story follows the gunslinger's search for the town's missing sheriff, his only friend, while unraveling the mysteries of the curse that plagues Tombwater. The narrative is delivered discreetly, through found items, characters, and sparse dialogues, but the dark mystery and the fight against madness permeate the entire experience, giving an emotional weight that unbalances the sanity of the protagonist and the player. Tombwater is an unmissable Metroidvania for those who like the balance between exploration, challenging combat, and a dark and engaging story. It combines the essentials of the genre with Souls-like elements and a Western atmosphere, delivering a visceral and immersive journey. If you are a fan of Hollow Knight and are looking for something that mixes intense action, mystery, and a unique setting, Tombwater is a sure recommendation.